All right, so today we are talking to our Palomar College mentor teachers. They are all part of the California Mentor Teacher Program, which is run through the state of California. And so we're going to go through some quick introductions, some quick information about their background, and then we will go through the questions that were submitted on Canvas by our students. So, quick introductions. Carol, do you want to start?
My name's Carol Adams. I'm a mentor teacher. I work at Palomar College at our San Marcos site. I've been here for 13 years, and I've been in the field for 18 years, and I've been in the mentor program for 7 years.
All right, thanks, Carol. And Martha?
My name is Martha. I've been working at Palomar College on the Escondido site for 7 years, and this is my first year as a mentor teacher.
So first year, so you're new to the mentor teacher program. So welcome. Yes.
I'm the freshman.
Yes.
All right. Welcome to Grandma. My name is Sisuda Lutringhouse, and I have been a mentor teacher since 2000, and you make the math. You calculate that yourself, and I have been in the field since 1980, yes.
And you are currently also working here.
And currently I'm working at the lab school in San Marcos.
All right, and you can see we have an empty seat. We are waiting for our fourth mentor teacher, Lisa. We've been waiting around for a little while, so we hope that she might have got caught in traffic is what we're thinking. So hopefully she will come in and join us, and if so, we'll just go from there. So, all right, so I think we're ready to get up to some of our questions. So, Carol, what does it mean to you to be a mentor?
To be a mentor is just to know that you're there and supporting the students and the mentees that come into my classroom. I want to be there to support them on some of the activities that they bring into the classroom, and just to be a supporter and help them to get through their studies and help them to work with the children to feel more confident in the classroom.
All right, thank you. And some of these we'll cover, sometimes I'll ask all three of you the same question, but some of these we'll just kind of go around and ask individual. So Martha, what would you do if you notice that a student teacher has checked out? And I'm assuming from this question it would be one of those things that maybe somebody who's not attending as regularly, or somebody who's not doing their lesson plans, completing their lesson plans, or something along those lines. What would you do in that type of situation?
The first thing I will do is actually email them to see if they're going to continue in the program or what's going on. If they're not completing their lessons, then I really think we need to sit on a meeting one-on-one to make sure that she really wants to do the program and that she really wants to become a teacher. Because there is no point like to just come to do your student teacher and bring empty lesson plans or try to do everything at the last minute. So I think that we need to make sure that we talk about it and clarify that if they really want to become a teachers, they need to do their best and make sure that they complete everything they need to do.
All right. And then especially if they're taking a class, then you'd probably also talk to the professor teaching that class at some point in time to make sure that everybody's on the same page as well.
That they haven't dropped the class.
That they haven't dropped the class, yeah. Exactly. Because we never know. Sometimes students do drop classes. All right, Sisuda, what are your biggest failures or mistakes being a mentor?
Mistake and failures. Well, the first thing we have to remember that any mistake or failure is some lesson that we have to learn. Mm-hmm. So we're going to learn from that. So it's no big deal. It's no the end of the world. So just learn from it. Definitely, I do have big failure and big mistake. I remember the first time, like the second years of my being a mentor. Mm-hmm. Oh boy, I just kind of yell at my teachers and my mentee because that year I remember that I had a pretty rough classroom, and she came in. She just like immediately interrupt my group time, and when we are a teacher with a group time and somebody interrupt, it's just like I was so like, what are you doing? Please stop and wait until we finish. But then later on, I just feeling that, oh wow, what have I done? So again, it's no big deal. We come back and as an adult, we come and sit down together. I have to say, apologize is something
It's
that
okay.
it's okay. And we just go and I just went over and said, hey, I apologize about that. I was a little bit nervous and I was tense at that time. And I learned from there. And since then, hey, group time is group time with children. Everything is okay. So don't worry about it. And just use it as your learning lesson. And that's all what I take. Yes.
All right, and
I
Carol.
want to chime in on that.
Yeah, I know. I was going to ask everybody this one.
Yeah, well, because the neat thing is about that is it kind of puts into perspective that all your students and the mentees that come in do learn in different ways.
Right.
So it gives you having a moment like that when maybe you have someone that comes in and does everything right on time and has everything ready, but then you have someone like that you know that you feel you have to but it helps. Everyone has a different learning style, so it almost like added to like your little like, okay, I have to remember that.
Yeah.
So we do understand and know that people have different learning styles, but
Yep.
it kind of gives you that mental note to make sure that
It's okay.
you'll know how to do it the next time as well.
And did you have any big failures or mistakes, Carol? that you can
Not
think
big
of?
failures or mistakes, but it kind of leads into one of our next questions about accomplishments
Okay.
as well. So it kind of goes right into if you have a student that's struggling and you know you want to give them that help, but you want them to figure it out on their own. But to just see that they've been able, it might take 2, maybe take 3 weeks, but then it's kind of like the light bulb goes on and they're understanding what they're really supposed to do and that they are children.
Right.
You know, sometimes the children won't even know if you've made a mistake, if you've read
Right.
the wrong word in the book or something. You know, I do it all the time. I'm like, wait, it said this. And
Oh, yeah.
the children that do know the books will call you out on it.
Right.
But, you know, it's okay to do that, you know, so I
Yeah.
just think.
I get that all the time when she says, teacher, Suda, that's not the way you say it. And I go,
Right.
all right.
Or my mom says it this way.
Or
but
sing
yes,
the
but
song.
It's,
Yeah,
it's
sing the
those,
song.
right, but it's those little things that will help the students, like, you know, if they kind of see
Right.
you do that or like you just kind of brush it off, you know, and
Right.
like
Right.
the,
It's
the
okay.
children don't know, so
Right.
it's okay.
So, Martha, any big, in your first year, any failure?
Well, the only thing that I actually saw is like sometimes we get students that don't have any experience working with children, and they take longer to like to get it, to do activities, to feel confident in the classroom.
Right.
And so I just feel like we have to be really patient sometimes, and they also have to be open, because if the students are open and tell us that they don't have any experience,
Right.
that give us like a better idea on how to help them.
Right.
And sometimes like you just see them all of a sudden they get everything, they feel confident, and
Yeah, because sometimes there's times in which when you've had mentees that have been in the field, working in the field for 10 or 12 or 15 years,
Right.
even, and you know, but they're still in the program to be mentored, and so those students you're going to work with in a different way than the student who's brand new, who like literally they're doing their very first circle time, like they have never done a circle time with a group of children before, and they're completely and totally nervous about it, and and
It happens.
and then
You
that's
see the boat move.
yeah. So that's a really good point on that one, Martha. So we'll kind of do this one too. What's been your most rewarding accomplishment? So Carol, you kind of shared that one already. See, Suda?
The rewarding, first of all, hey, extra money, okay? And because the mentor teacher, they give us some extra money when we do all these work, and it's really rewarding in the sense that we have somebody really see the value of us as a teacher that we work in the fields, and it's kind of like helping out and a little bit. And one thing is that I have a feeling, especially when my mentee came back and say, Teacher Sisuda, I'm a director now. I was just like, what? You know, when did that happen? It's
Right.
really can see that, and they use my strategy or techniques really go into and explain the teaching appropriateness for young children out there, which is what we want in our fields. And that is just like, okay, I'm good. You know, exactly, this is what
That
I want to
happens.
do.
Right.
And that is really make you feel really good when they come back and say, hey, you know what? I have changed my school instead of
Right.
this way and
Right.
change into more appropriate way as what I see you, what you have shown me, and encourage me to do it.
And
That's
especially
awesome.
those people going on to being the directors, exactly, they have more of an influence on the entire school
Yes.
versus just their own classroom. So
Exactly.
so that's huge on that.
That
end.
is huge. That is
Right,
huge.
right.
Yes.
And Martha, did we get your rewarding?
Not sure, but
Yeah.
but I have something to say.
Good. That's good because I was like, I don't think I asked you that one yet.
Because something that I really like for the program since it's my first year is all the trainings that we get, because it helps us to help the students, but it also helps us to see our classroom and to evaluate ourselves.
Right.
So like it keep us upgraded on what we need to be doing in the classroom
Right.
and be a better role model for the students. I also like the fact that like in the center, when I'm working with the Escondido teachers,
Uh-huh.
since they know I'm in the mentor program,
Right.
they come and they always asking me questions. So it's feeling very rewarding. Like I'm just
Right.
starting the program and they already looking for me, like to ask me questions to see, okay, how can we do this? Do you know something about what we can do with the students or help our mentees? So that's really rewarding
Great.
for me.
Perfect. And as you can see, we have yes,
Hi.
Lisa came in. We'd explained that we were waiting for a while, but we just decided to get going
Sorry about that.
we knew that you were probably stuck in traffic.
Yes.
Yes.
This is so much fun.
Yes, traffic
Okay.
on the 78 and all. So why don't you real quick? So and then we'll continue on with the questions.
Okay.
So real quick, just tell us who you are, where you teach, how long you've been teaching, and how long you've been in the mentor program.
Great. My name is Lisa Ben-Savenga, and I am a mentor teacher. I've been a mentor teacher for 4 years now. I work at Rancho Bernardo Community Church Presbyterian Preschool in Rancho Bernardo, and I've been teaching for over 20 years.
Okay, great.
So I started out meeting you ladies, and I'm very happy to be here.
Great. And how long have you been in the mentor program?
4 years.
4 years. Okay,
Yeah.
perfect. So,
yeah.
Yeah, Lisa was one of the ones that was in
The
this class.
mentor class.
this
yes.
mentor class,
Mhm.
and she was so intrigued and
Right.
asked questions and
exactly.
You know.
And that's and then you can see the benefits of the mentor program, and then it's great that we're able to now place students with you
Yes.
and over at your site, because you've got a great quality site over there, and the students have learned, and I know we've placed several students over
Two
there.
students actually are on our staff
Right.
working. So
Oh,
it's a great program, and our site really likes having the students come
Right.
to be in our program to learn and in my classroom.
And that it's a great way to also see that there are some quality people coming up through the program that
Yes.
you can then hire.
Exactly.
And yes, I know I see them when I come over and visit you. I love it.
I know.
It's great.
And
It's great.
actually, I have to say, I have to add on that. You guys back there watching this video, you might want to think about it, because it's really important for you to apply for it, because the student really gonna see the reality out there in the preschool setting.
Right.
Not like us with a lab school. We are pretty kind of like
Put everything.
a little bit different than like for
In the
some,
real
for
world.
example, like
The real world.
Lisa. You
No,
know,
you guys are
it's
real
just really
world.
cool. And we try to be like this.
But
Yeah.
everybody has a different
Mhm.
perspective. You have
Right.
the lab school. We have
Exactly. That's
a
what we
community
need more.
based. Yeah.
Mhm.
And it's also a Christian based school, but
Right.
which you don't have to be a church member. It's
Right.
for all
It's
of the
community, right,
Right.
exactly. So, so even though your program has that philosophy, it doesn't state that the people who work there or the students who come in have to have that same philosophy.
No.
It's just a matter of, I know, like in your room, like you say a quick little prayer or a little thank you before we eat, kind of a thing.
Yes. That's where
and-
you'll see it mostly.
Right, exactly, and that's pretty much, I know sometimes your programs and such would go into that, but all right, so great, thank you, thanks for coming, thanks for making it. All right, so let's see, a couple things that we'll go back to Lisa on real quick, if you don't
Okay,
mind.
sure.
So we just finished up number 3 and 4. So biggest failure and most rewarding accomplishment. So if you have one of those,
Okay.
anything from the mentoring program. If you can think of.
I'd like to start with a positive,
Good.
a rewarding
Nice.
accomplishment. I feel like watching a couple of our students,
Right.
our students coming from Palomar,
Right.
were hired with our program, with our school.
Right.
So it was just very rewarding to see everyone coming in, starting out in my room, and then now they're staff members. So it's a good relationship building piece.
Right.
I got to be with them to start, and then now they're actually staff members.
Yeah.
And then the biggest failure, I guess, mistake is just realizing that some philosophies of students coming in may be differing than my own, and how does that work? How can we work together? I think I wouldn't really want to call it a failure, but it was a challenging situation.
Right.
And it took a lot of communication and also some grace and just taking a step back and going, okay,
Yeah.
why do we see things from a different point of view?
Right. And I know I remember that situation specifically. And I know it's one of those things that it's really difficult when a student comes in, a mentee comes in, and you're trying to show them a more developmentally appropriate practice, and they're still wanting to do, things that are much more academic
Yes.
based. And I know, Lisa, you have our 2-year-olds. You're
Yes.
working with the 2-year-olds where we're not talking about academics with our 2-year-olds.
No.
We're lucky if they don't eat the Play-Doh. So
Right,
I mean,
exactly.
right. So that's what we need to worry about there. So I know that was a difficult situation. With that student, but you made it through. You know what I mean?
And we
I
learn
know
from
that
each other.
exactly learning from each other.
That's kind of like what we all kind of said. I had said something about how it puts that knowledge into your little bank, and then okay, different situation, different people. You touched on everyone comes from different centers, or
Right.
have never worked at centers at all, which
Right.
is very true. So we have to kind of know where they're coming from to
Right.
take that step back, give them the extra couple weeks, give them the extra encouragement
Right.
to
Right.
get them to those places.
All right. And as those of you who can see, all our families are leaving here at the lab school today. All right. So where were we at in our rotation? I don't know. How about we'll go with Sisuda, and then we'll take Lisa next, and then we'll go around again. So, Sisuda, what is the most important leadership lesson that you've learned?
The most important leadership lesson, as I say, I would say really understand the learning style of the students. That is something really
And that's something we talk about in class.
yes, because each of them have learning style differently,
Mm-hmm.
and you have to approach them differently too. Some of them you really have to say, here, come sit down here, this is how it works. And some of them would be just like, you can just verbally and tell them they get everything. And some of them would just have to okay, I hold your hands and let's walk together. So that is, I would say that's the main thing that I learned, and respecting each other. That's one thing that I have learned as a quality of the leaderships.
All right. Thank you. Let's see. So the next question, how would you remain neutral when working with a teacher who you feel would benefit if they incorporated your own teaching style? And I think Lisa kind of actually hit on that one. I think we kind of already covered that one. So I'm gonna move on from that one because I think we could pretty much already covered that one. And number 7 even as well. So on average, the question is, on average, how long does it take to see progress in the teaching and classroom management of the mentee? And again, I think we kind of already covered that one in a couple of the things when we talked about the fact that some come in with a lot of experience, some come in with hardly any experience or no experience. So I think we've kind of touched upon that one as well. So let's go to number 8. So Lisa, does being a mentor teacher take a lot of your time away from work or personal life?
This question is based on, for me, I've learned that some mentee students are fit right in with my schedule, and my program, I have a little bit of planning time in between 2 of my classes, so it worked out really well for some of my students. Another student, it took a lot of time, and I learned to set some boundaries.
Right, exactly.
And I had to really learn that
right.
on a very personal level.
And that's kind of a leadership component
Yes.
too, of
Yes.
setting those boundaries. Yeah.
Yes. When will I answer emails? Can you contact me on the weekend? When can you contact?
Right.
So I learned, and I think it's one of those things, it's a leadership
Yeah.
issue. You set your own boundaries, but within reason, and if it's an emergency, common sense kind of things.
Right.
What kind of question can wait?
Exactly.
And what can't wait? When do you need communication?
Right. Exactly.
If you're not going to be there that day, communicate
Right.
with me.
Exactly. But sometimes if they're tweaking a little thing on their lesson plan, it might not be,
Crucial.
oh, I'm going to use this instead of this. Oh, okay. Well, that's not as crucial as, am I going to be here or not? That kind of
Right.
thing.
So I don't think it takes a lot of my time away. I really enjoy doing it, so I fit it into my schedule, and I feel like it works.
It's just all perspective.
Yeah.
It's perspective. I like that.
Yeah. All right. So we'll start back over. So Carol, what inspired you to be a mentor teacher?
Just to become a mentor teacher, I just wanted to be here to support students. I'm doing my job. I love what I do. I want to encourage other students to do it. Just being there and to learning about the programs. The student already touched base on, you do earn some extra money, which is kind of nice. You do get paid for having the students that come into your classroom. So that's always a nice thing. We meet a few times out of the year. But it's nothing detrimental to our personal time or anything. It's a couple times throughout the year that we meet and kind of do things like this or talk about the program and what's working and what's not and those kinds of things. So just to be part of it, I was like, I'm willing to do it and take that extra time a couple times out of the year and be there and be supportive and know that I'm helping mentees and future students who want to become a teacher, just to help them out.
Okay. Anybody else have anything else that they want to share on that one, or anything different?
For me, a little bit different is that because I was inspired by my own mentor teachers. I remember the first time I came to this country, and I was not really want to go into this field because of my language. But I got a lot of encouragement from my advisors from the university, and then I went into the it's almost a lab school in Albuquerque, New Mexico, and my mentor teacher she's just incredible, and I have learned so much from her culturally, language and teaching style, which is amazing. And also when I learn more and I study more, and I really think that I really believe that children should be children.
Right.
Not just everybody coming in and say, here, you have to do this and you have to do that. And so I just okay, mentor teacher, here I come. So I just try to encourage my student mentee as much as I can to make sure that they relax. Children, let them be children, because there's a lot of study, a lot of research has shown that if we let them be that way, they're a lot better turn around in the future. And like I say earlier, that when I see mentee come back and to use our philosophy to be out there, and I just yes, that's already one accomplishment I'm getting, and I want to get one person at a time, and that's all I need. Yes.
True.
Can't change the entire world.
No.
But
One mentee
so
at a time.
one at a
Right.
time. One at a
And
time.
that's it. Yeah.
All right. So, and how about Martha, number 10? What do you feel is the best benefit for the mentee from having a mentor teacher?
I guess the way that I want to put it is you can try to struggle by yourself, because it's going to be a lot of struggle. If you just try to figure things out on your own, okay, this didn't work, I'm going to try something else, and you can do that if you want to.
Right.
But I think it's always better to talk to somebody who has experience, and especially with somebody that is like we are in the program and we're always talking to each other what things work with us, and that also makes it better for the mentee, because if Carol has a student that is having trouble, and I probably have the same experience and I try something different, then she can do that and she can go and advise her mentee.
Right.
So when the mentees have a mentor, that makes it easier for them, because they always have somebody to ask their questions. If they don't feel comfortable asking the teacher that is asking the questions in the classroom, like the college teacher,
Right.
they can go with the mentor, or the
Right.
other way around. They can go with the teacher. So I think it's always better.
And that's a really good point, because there are some students that will hardly ever speak up in a classroom situation.
Right.
So in a college classroom situation, sometimes it's pulling teeth to try to get some people to talk and communicate. But with you, they're going to feel much more comfortable because it's more of a one-on-one relationship and be able to ask you those questions.
And then they also have the situation right there. Like sometimes it's
Right.
hard to see it from the outside, but once
Yes.
they're in the field, they're working with the children. It's like, oh, now I have a question. Now what can
Right.
I do? And if they feel like right after they finish doing their circle time or something, they can go and ask the mentor teacher and be like, okay, I have trouble with this. I just noticed
Right.
this. What's going on here? So.
Good.
And I want to add on that,
Uh-huh.
because of the mentor program, they also support us to be a mentor, long-term mentor. So if you're a
Mm-hmm. Right.
mentor teacher, you can have your mentee to connect with you all the time, and you get paid for that too. So I just want to emphasize that, because mentor program, not just like, okay, you're a mentor and that's it. And they really value us as a mentor, and it's really important to connect with the mentee, because in the sense of the mentees in the classroom is different than they go out and they have their own classroom.
Right.
And I have been go back to my mentee to help her arrange the whole classroom, because she has problem of management in the class.
Right.
So I went in and looked into it, and I suggest her change different things, and it turned out totally changed.
Right.
And we still can connect, and
Right.
no matter what, we can learn from. We learn from the mentee,
Right.
and the mentee learn from us. Is a community. We cannot just our mentor and that's it. No,
True.
we more like a community things.
Right.
Yeah,
And
that's really good.
Martha, you look like you're.
Well, we also have to keep in mind that every year the situations are different. Like we
Right.
have the classroom set up this year
Yes.
and it works perfectly.
Exactly.
The next year we're gonna have different children and
Right.
they might need a different setup.
Right.
So that's why also
Yes.
important to keep communicating and keep looking around what is different in other centers.
Yeah.
So yeah, she's saying like it's not just for the class when there are student teachers,
Right.
but also when they go outside, because every year is gonna be changing the
Yeah.
children and.
And they can come
Yes,
back.
true.
And I do have a student, she the one that contacted me, she was out there in the community for 6 years.
Uh-huh.
And then she came back and hey, I have problem. Can you help me?
See?
And
Definitely
she's
can.
been in there.
See, that's it. And for, I mean, those of us, especially, here on campus, I mean, we have the same email address. You know what I mean? We have the
Yes.
same contact information. I know, Lisa, you've been at your site for a very long time as well.
12 years, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So it's nice that they're able to come back. You get, you exchange that information with them, and then they're able to come back to use you as a resource in the
Yes.
future. Because, as we know, a huge part of classroom management is the room arrangement and the schedule.
Yes.
Like those two things are huge when it comes to classroom management. But sometimes, yeah, it's. So and not everybody has some of those creative ways of thinking about, so brainstorming, and that's another good thing that you can do with together as a group here,
Well, and-
as well as with your mentees.
Right, and the way that Martha said, like, maybe I have a situation that, okay, I discussed with you guys, and it's like, oh, I didn't even think about it that way, and maybe Martha gets the question the next year, it's like, oh, we can go back to, like, what Carol experienced last year. And I actually currently have my mentee right now, she recently asked me about some of the things and guidelines in her own current classroom.
Uh-huh.
So I said, well, do you do this? And she's like, no. I'm like, how about this? No. And she came back a week or two later, and she was using those tactics in her new room, and she's like, it's working. She's like, I just had to get other people that I worked with on board, but I'm like,
Right.
yeah, I'm like, try it. And she's like, oh yeah, I never thought about that. So it's little things like that
Right.
she's currently seeing how my children are in the classroom, and she's like, okay, your children do it, my children are the same age, a little bit older, they should be able to do this, So she went back and tried a few suggestions that I could give her, and that's
was
what we're
able to
here
be
to do, is give the suggestions and help.
Exactly. And as we all know, even with all the years of experience in this room and everything, there are still sometimes there are some children in some classrooms that will still get you like to pull your hair out. You're like, okay, what is it? Like, oh my gosh, one's a really challenging group this year.
Right.
And then, next year you're like, oh, I needed this break, right? Because you're like, everybody's all in, everybody's totally focused. They're off in their own thing. You like, sometimes you can hear a pin drop. You're like, okay, what's wrong? Like something. It's too quiet. It's too quiet. Number 11 is pretty much, we've covered that experience being a mentor in the field. So I think we've pretty much covered that one. So who were you up to? Because I think
Back to me
yeah,
again.
I think Lisa. So tell us about an important relationship you've had with a mentor, and how that person influenced your career.
Oh my gosh, yes. Well, when I first started at my site, I had just come out of Miracosta College and went through the student teaching
the practicum
there,
class, right?
Practicum class up there, and I was fairly new. I had just started my first classroom, and it was a toddler room, and I wasn't trained. I mean, felt like, well, what do I have my book knowledge,
right,
and I have knowledge as a parent, but what do I do now? You know?
When you have 8 or 10, 12 toddlers.
Yes, and toddlers are different than preschoolers.
Right.
It is just like a totally different curriculum. And at that time, well, and still, we partner at my center with the Hope Infant Program.
Right.
Early interventionists. So one of my mentors was there in my classroom, and not only toddler, but I had the special needs kids coming in, and I had just found out about my own child having a developmental disability kind of thing, and so I was just kind of overwhelmed. But she showed me a way. It was just such simplicity.
Right.
About just children are children. Just going back to what you're saying here, is that, okay, maybe they have this diagnosis, maybe they don't have a voice, or they're not walking, they're not mobile.
Right.
But you make accommodations, you find what the strengths are for each child, and then you work on those and support them where they're at when you meet them.
Exactly, and I always like to say, I mean, everybody's a total individual. Like, and everybody, I want to look at their strengths before I look at anything that might be a disability that we're having to make accommodations for. But we want to look at their strengths, and we want to look at those things that are just so positive. And every child has them, so yeah.
Yes, and she modeled it on a daily basis, just like from very mild disabilities to major, like things that I was at first when I'd hear their background, I'd just get a little bit nervous. Like one child, we didn't know if they'd lived through the year. It was a syndrome, and it was a lot of us were struck with like, well, what do we do? There was like a GoFundMe page for this child, and they weren't supposed to live, and they did, and they're still alive. It's it's just like a miracle, but
all those happen.
Yeah. So she just was like, we take it day by day, and they're kids, and things happen, and change is part of our life. And I'm just like, oh yeah, I never thought of it that way.
Exactly. I forget. There was something that went through my head. I should have wrote it down right there because I was thinking about it right when you were talking about something. But oh well, it'll come back around.
Okay.
Let's see, Carol. What qualities? Okay, yes. What qualities do you think are important in a mentor?
Just in a mentor, be able to listen.
Okay.
We've talked a lot about, different learning styles, be aware of who they are. But just, it feels good to kind of say, like, I'm a master teacher at the lab school. However, I'm also a mentor teacher.
Right.
So it's like, it doesn't have to necessarily be with those child development classes that strictly come into the classroom. You can help everybody in the field and do this. And, I'm not an expert in any way. It's just I'm here. I have experiences. And I feel like having the years of experience, being the mentor in the mentor program, it just kind of, I feel a little bit of, it feels good to know that I'm out there to help everybody.
All right.
So,
anybody else have any other qualities that they want to add? I think listening is a huge part of it. That communication,
like listening and just understanding them, where they're coming from, or they might have some kind of a disability or learning disability, and you might learn that through them.
Right.
And then it's like, okay, well, you can do that. They might have a little bit of a fear or be nervous about something, but it's things that.
And that just reminds me. Also, when you said that, it reminds me of a student that we had several years ago over at our old site, who was who had cerebral palsy, and she was in a wheelchair, she went through our entire program. She finished up our entire program. And I know there was at one point in time, because I'd always just seen her in a wheelchair in the adult classroom. You know what I mean? So when we started talking to her, And when she started going into the classroom and doing the student teaching, I'm like, well, can you get in and out of your wheelchair on your own? You know what I mean? I was like, I don't know. I'm going to ask this question. I don't think it's too difficult of a inappropriate question. And she goes, oh yeah. I'm like, okay, well then I want to see you down on the floor with the kids. You know what I mean? Like, so if you're able to do those things, and then I didn't even know this, but she actually can walk on crutches. Even though it was much more difficult across campus, but she was able to incorporate the crutches into the classroom sometimes. Right. And so, so it goes to show, and I know we've also had deaf students.
I was just going to say we did. We did. Yes,
exactly.
It's exactly what I was thinking about.
Last year.
Had
they came into my room too.
And it's so cool in the sense that you really put all this quality together, and the children really see that it's just like everybody is here.
Right, exactly.
Kids still can communicate.
Teaching them to accept differences as well.
Exactly.
Very much so to let them accept.
Yeah, so we've been fortunate to have that, and we've actually had a couple deaf students over the course of time.
Yeah, we have one in Escondido Center too.
Right.
Yeah.
That she went and read books.
Yeah, she came to the students' classroom too. She did one day with us and one day with the student.
Yes.
It was really neat.
Yeah. Yeah. So
and that wasn't the child development program. That was, and she actually was there to help the students learning sign language.
Exactly.
So it's that turnaround was really cool. So the interpreters that she brought, they're the ones that were kind of
learning how to
speak with children.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's so interesting.
So it was just a very neat thing, and then what the children learned that semester and everything.
Yeah. So it just goes to show how we can incorporate so many of the abilities, different abilities into our programs, and it can be really, really beneficial. Okay, so I think we're up to number 14. What level credential do you have through the California Commission on Teacher Credentialing? What steps do you take to apply for your next level? The next level stuff. If anybody has next level stuff, they can come see me.
And this one was like, maybe that question should ask Diane.
Yes. So any questions about that, come see me because I've got all the paperwork for that, and I'm always able to help anybody. And that's across the community too. I mean, we have a lot of people. I have a lot of people that contact me.
At least site supervisor.
I was going to say that we'll need to have the site supervisor.
For the program, for the mentor program, it has to be at least master
teacher, but I think we all have at least site supervisor.
Yes. Right. Yeah. Exactly. So we're fortunate enough to have all of our mentors here have at least their site supervisor hire and their higher level degrees as well and such. Yes. So we're very fortunate on that part. But yes, to be in the program, you have to at least have that master teacher permit, or at least the master teacher qualifications, I believe it is.
To obtain it.
Exactly. All right. So now I think we're up to number 15. How will you use what you learned through the mentor program and apply it toward the future endeavors in your career? So
it works definitely daily. Because,
what was that?
It says, how will you use what you learned through the mentor program?
Right. So I'm thinking that this person's thinking. I don't know if it's coming from a standpoint from your opinion as to how you're going to use it in your future, because I think all of you are in this field and you got buy-in for this time, but I think maybe from the mentee side of it, right?
Well, I was going to say, I guess it depends where they coming from, but I start as a mentee, and I feel like I grew up with Carol, probably here in Canada, because I started working with them, and I also was a student teacher there, and as soon as I finished, I was like, okay, what else can I do? So when I finished with my child development in Palomar College, I was like, well, I'll try for my BA. And as soon as I finished with my BA, it's like, well, is there anything else for me? And I remember that Carol had a mentor program. So I asked, I'm like, what do you do? And she's like, well, just apply for it. Now you have all the qualifications. Right. And it's like, right now I'm taking all those trainings that it goes back to the desired results that we're doing in the classroom.
Right.
How to manage the things in the classroom.
Right.
And
all the anchors.
All that.
all the rating scales.
Anchors, all of them.
The list that we have from the program that you guys went to. And
the institute.
Give me a whole list of things that we can do online and all those
the modules.
You have to do all those stuff. Yeah.
So what? In fact, that's a great tie-in to the Mentor Institute. So is everybody? So what is the Mentor Institute? So let me go back on that. What's the Mentor Institute?
Fun.
It's a fun thing.
Yes,
Very
it
fun.
is.
Who want to go? Who want to
Yeah,
go? I mean,
go
I
start.
can
'Cause
go
you've gone a
because
couple of
I
times.
love fun
It
stuff.
was fun.
But actually, you know what? I have to say that when you go to Mentor Institute, I remember that when I was a teacher, because I'm a teacher for a long time, right? 20 something years. And every time when I go to a professional development, I have to pay by myself. Right? I have to go with my car. I have to fill on my own gas. I have to pay everything by myself.
Right.
Mentor Institute, it's
care of
either in Oakland, they alternate years. One year will be Oakland. This year we were in Oakland, and next year will be in Costa Mesa.
Yeah, up in LA.
Guess what? You get paid for the plane ticket. You don't have to pay for your accommodation. You get the free meals. You get to
Goodie bags.
Goodie bags.
Yeah,
and
meet other
learning from all
mentors
different
from all
kind
over
of,
the counties, all over the
subject
states.
they have. Like it's almost like a workshop that you can go and you can choose and you can they pay for you. Even
Very interesting.
if you go from your house to the airport and you leave your car there, they pay for that.
Pay for your parking.
Pay for your parking.
Or your Uber or whatever it might be.
Exactly. So I was just like, that is a really high level of professional.
Right.
Point of view, because as you can see that our fields is really, we feel really low. And I remember that a lot of time when before we become a mentor teacher, sometime when I went to an event, people ask me, what are you doing? I said, I am just a preschool teacher.
You're not just a preschool teacher.
Exactly.
That's true.
But then when you turn into a mentor program,
Right.
if you be a mentor, and then you just somehow just change your attitude about, you know what, I'm not just a preschool teacher anymore.
Right.
I am somebody that is really important to help out our young generation to go out
Right.
in the right way.
Right.
And I am proudly to say that I'm a preschool teacher and a mentor teacher.
Right.
Yes. It changed everything.
Yes,
Right.
it changed everything.
Everything
Yes.
does.
It does.
Yes.
So, okay, and the Mentor Institute, so that's, so everything is paid, that's great, and then you learn all that professional development. It happens once a year, and are you able to go every year? To the, or is it every
Give or
other
take,
year?
you have to apply for it.
Okay.
So and then
So it depends on how many people they have
right, how many
applications.
people and
But usually if you
Wait
put
list.
down the wait list, they
right
always call.
because then it's the wait
Okay.
list and it's people. But yeah, and fortunately the three of us got to go.
Yes.
Martha came in towards the end, like right after
Yeah,
we went to
right
Mentor
after.
Institute.
So next
She
year,
joined
hopefully
us.
you're going to
Yeah.
get to
So, well, and it's
Yes.
more local this year because last year was at Cal Berkeley, but it was really neat for all three of us to be able to leave San Diego, fly up there together, and then it was very neat because at one point we got to meet as a group, but then we were able to branch out and do the little
Right.
workshops and come back with each other. We
Right.
stayed in the room together, but it was so neat to talk about the different things that we did and bring that information back to
Right.
our mentor meetings to discuss this thing. We filled
back
Martha
and
in on
shared
so much stuff.
inspiring.
It's very inspiring.
We were able to
Yes.
talk about future things
Right.
together, which we don't
What
always
is
have
it?
time because we're always working
Right.
and we're at our sites and life is busy. And
Right.
It was a,
But it's a very good connecting, and they take care of you.
Take
It's
care of
highly
you
professional.
Mhm.
Yes.
It's
And
like
you
why
meet
wouldn't
all
you?
these cream of the crop, for all the teachers,
Yes.
Right.
mentors,
And
and you think that you're great, but no, they're greater. So
Right.
Where you
I
say,
was
Martha?
going
it
to
does
say,
really.
I was going to say that they give you all those information that you can keep working on because
Right.
that's all the
Yes.
things that I get. Like they make together what they were talking about it, and they bring me all those information. They're like, so this is what you can do online.
Right.
So that's what actually I'm working on online. It's
And
all
you
those
said something about
videos.
modules.
Yes.
Yeah, we
So-
have to do all the.
I actually have that package of them. I have to
what is that called?
desired.
No.
No, I don't have it.
What is that called?
It's right there.
Shoot, I forgot. It's the it's
There.
it's the
Is there a backside to that?
module offering
The
foundation.
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 Okay.
We all have.
So
to learn
so the from state of California,
Yes.
the foundations. Okay, so that's
Yes.
what those learning modules are on.
And
so.
we have to have them
To have
to be a mentor. We have to have
We
those.
have to
That's
have
why we have
those
to be
completed.
completed those. Yeah.
Right. So
Completing those.
and
Completing, but I went in process.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And while you
Taking
do
one,
that, you
so.
can use it as your professional development.
right. So and also part of your professional growth for your permit because you need that
Yes.
105 hours every 5 years. So the time, keep track of that time that you're
Right.
that it takes for you to. I think Lisa's writing it down right now
I am.
as a
because
reminder. So
I do that during my
yeah,
time.
so that's another professional growth activity. So
Yes.
Well, the thing is just it's so inspiring to see how people really get into, and there's so many people that's really passionate about our views. And
Right.
I think it's
Definitely.
really, really
It's-
inspiring.
it's good to see that. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Exactly. Exactly. All right. So let's so those are the questions that got and I say there were a couple other questions that got submitted to me, but they were pretty much duplicates along the same lines as to what had
Right.
already been submitted. So I divided them up because there were a couple students that asked a little bit more classroom questions versus mentor questions. So I just wanted to at least give the opportunity to be able to answer those questions as well.
I
Since
just
you don't-
want to ask you, Diane, whether the students of yours, do they, anybody that's in the position of director?
Yes, I believe that this semester online that there are a couple. So this is the first semester
Okay.
we're teaching it online, and right. So the director. So thank you, Cece.
So the directors,
Right.
please encourage your employee to apply to be a mentor teachers, because that's going to be really keep your program value even more.
Exactly.
When you advertise out that you have a mentor teachers in your classroom, you know, you're gonna
Exactly, because you can use that for advertising purposes.
Yes,
Exactly,
yes,
and
yes,
that's
yes.
a great way to market your site as
Yes,
well.
right.
To show that you're higher level in the field as
Yeah.
compared to other sites that don't have mentor
Right.
teachers.
and we really need you.
The other thing though that you reminded me of is the director mentor.
Yes, that
And
too.
so, right. So right now we don't have any. We didn't. I didn't invite the director mentors to this meeting, but we do have some director mentors in our area and within the college and so forth. Maybe we'll look at that. And again, it's part of me just. Let's say teaching this class in this way, online and everything for the first time and stuff. So it's been a different format. But that's something that I'm making a note of and will remind for myself for next
Right.
time if there's next time. but having those director mentors. So if you are a mentor, you can become a director mentor and you can mentor other directors in the field. In fact, there's been some people that have been new and upcoming, and I know in fact there's one student in this class this semester online who I know from other classes that I've had with her and such, and I talked with her one day, and she's there, her site is training her to become a director. And so
Awesome.
I said, you need to get in with a director mentor.
Mentor.
So she's not ready to be a mentor director, but she could learn from a mentor director out there in the
Right,
field.
right.
So that's something that that we will, that I'll follow through with her on to try to get her connected with one of our director mentors, because that would be a great avenue for her to learn more about how to become a better director at her site. And so forth. So
really good
so we've
support.
got so we've got support both on the teaching side and on the administration
Yes.
side,
Yes.
which many times we don't think
It
of.
has to be connected.
Yes, exactly. All right, so we'll hit these classroom questions really quick here, but we can go around real quick. Which age do you prefer to work with and why, Lisa?
Well, this year is my first year away from toddlers after not sure I wanted to be. I am toddler still. I am toddler part-time, Monday, Wednesday, Friday. And I have a 3-year-old class on Tuesday, Thursday, all day. And I love my toddlers, and that's probably what I prefer. I love the 3-year-olds, and I love the 4-year-olds. I do work in a mixed age
Right.
group too. But there's something about the toddler relationship building. I feel really close, that nurturing.
Right.
So that's why. And then just the families too. Just when they come in, that's like their first experience. And they come in as, well, they're always a unit, but they're really a unit. They're-
Right.
Right.
And they're like, a lot of questions that come out and everything during that.
Yes, you're
during
really
that phase.
building relationships with the entire family. You're
Exactly.
involved with a lot of things like potty training and
Yeah.
it's and language and
Right.
sharing and oh gosh, so
Excellent. All right, Carol.
Currently work with 3 to 5s. I kind of like that 3-year-old on the verge of 4 age. They're not so opinionated, but they're learning to be. They learn and bounce off of each other. But something about those 3-year-olds and just how their mind works, and they have the words, but not quite using them all yet. But yet they're so curious, or they're so excited when you bring out something new,
Right.
you know, or where my 4s and 5s sometimes they're like, oh, we did that before, and it's like, yes, but some of your friends haven't seen this before,
Right.
so let's see what it's like. But I like that 3s.
The 3s. All right, Martha.
I just like the 4 and 5s because sometimes they're a little bit challenging for the same reason that they really like to get something new. So I really like them, and then they also very active. And like definitely I prefer the 4s rather than the younger ones. The younger age they scare me because they're so fragile and they run everywhere and they
Scare you?
They scare me. They really scare me. Yeah, definitely scare me. I have an infant and I'm like, okay, Cook wants to give him a shower. I have a newborn, but I think I prefer.
Yeah, that's what I said. Are you scared?
I'm definitely scared. Who wants to take care for
He's
me?
not gonna break.
Yeah. Once they turn 4, then you're like, okay.
Yeah,
Right.
I'm
they
all
can
over it.
run. Like, we can run together, and I like them to because they have a lot of questions to ask.
Right.
And they always challenging you. Like
Yeah.
if you put the same thing out, they will definitely say why they don't like it.
Right.
No, I'm bored with it.
Right.
And so I prefer the older ones.
All right. And Sisuda?
Well, it depends. I like 2 and 3s because they always give me hugs, you know. But I think I'm over that too. And I've been 2 and 3s for 10 years, so
Yeah.
I think I'm going toward the next one is 4 and 5s, and I also have opportunities to do some kindergarten, and not quite fun about that. Too much of this, formal work. But 4 and 5 is I would say is my favorite because, like, similar to Mother, I am the person that I cannot stay still. I have to move around. And it doesn't mean that 3 doesn't move around, but it's a different way.
Yeah.
Right.
And 4 and 5 is more more verbal and ask more questions, and I'm more like want to do experiments and all those stuff. And so it's more
They're more the language for that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
more
feel
language.
with the 4 and 5s, you kind of have to actually move yourself. With the younger ones, you have to let them move
Right.
you.
Yes.
You,
Right.
you don't
Right.
you don't
Yes.
tell them what to do. You don't do nothing with them. It's like
Right.
we have to
moving.
follow them.
And like
the
4 and 5 is
5.
that they understand the jokes.
Yeah.
Yes, they understand jokes. The reason I'm not ready yet, But 4 and 5, I like to do joking around, so it's kind of cool to see that.
And toddlers move in packs.
Yes.
They grew. I don't
I don't like
this
that.
side and
They're
everyone's
all
over
at
here.
the table. They're all
The younger 3s also do that because
Yeah.
we only
Yes.
have 3 and 5 in Escondido, and
Right.
when sometimes I separate the younger ones and the older ones.
Right.
And when I have the 3 years old, I'm like, okay, can you just kind of work because they always follow me like they're together.
Yeah.
And like if
Are you a
I
little
go wash my
dummy?
hands, they go wash the hands. with me.
Right.
Yeah, 4 and 5 they find it onwards and
Exactly.
like
Exactly.
cool.
the older.
All right, so teaching philosophy, I think we pretty much all have the same teaching philosophy. So, of course, we're not in
Students
academic
first.
programs.
Right.
We're individualizing for each child and using developmentally appropriate practices and guidance techniques and so forth. So I think we're pretty much all on the same page on that one. So, let's see. Impulse control. So what are some of the ways that teachers can best enhance and support the social emotional development for children who struggle with impulse control and self-regulation skills? And that's a really tough question because that's something that every teacher struggles with, and each child is completely and totally individual.
Right.
So when you are talking about, regulating their impulse controls, then you have to really figure out what the triggers are.
Yes.
Right.
and go back to that. What's the trigger? And each trigger is going to be something different for
Right.
each child.
Right.
So this question, it's a very difficult question to answer with. You can't have one answer for
Right.
it.
It's not one
So-
size
Right.
fits all. It's
But
definitely.
it goes back to almost having that room arrangement. It goes into,
Exactly.
it's the triggers, it's the room arrangement. It's
Too many transitions.
too many transitions,
Schedules.
or what is the management of the classroom in general?
Right.
You know, is a teacher coming in every 10 minutes? Is it a different teacher, a different
Right.
assistant coming in? Is there a teacher that's there 8 hours out of the day with the children?
Right.
You know, or is it just a constant different person? But triggers
And-
is a big word, and yeah.
You yourself have to be like, and then go over.
Exactly.
Yeah, don't get bummed up.
Right.
and then
Exactly.
Well, when your energy's up, their energy's going to be up.
Yeah,
It's-
you need to go.
And that's
in.
something that we talk about in the student teaching class is that those powerful interactions, and that we actually do a book on that. We do the book on powerful interactions and having them be in the moment and
Right.
taking that. Sometimes it is taking that deep breath of going, okay, now I can go over an approach and,
Right.
and figure this out. The other thing too that many people don't think about or is our subconscious. If we're anxious and nervous about
Yes.
a child and we think that something's going to trigger that child and we're stressing out about it, and even
It's
though
us.
Yeah.
exactly, even though we're not saying anything and
Right.
we're not doing anything necessarily physically,
Right.
the young child, those children under the age of 5 can read our subconscious
Yeah.
better than anybody else,
Right.
and they know what you're thinking.
Right.
You know,
This is
sometimes
true.
you can come into a classroom and you might have had a really stressful time at getting to work or doing something, or something else happened. Maybe somebody in your family passed away or something really happened tragic, and you come in, but you're still coming into work that day and everything,
Right.
and you're like, okay, I'm here, I'm present,
Definitely.
and I'm doing my best. But a child will come over to you and say,
Yeah.
"What's wrong?
Yes.
Why are you sad
Yeah.
today?" And you're not crying, and
Right.
nobody's
Yeah.
saying,
Yeah.
but
You
they're
might
like,
start.
And then you start crying.
exactly.
Just because they're there is being sympathetic
Are
to
you
you.
okay?
exactly. But so much of it comes off of if I'm anxious and nervous, or I'm like,
Right.
okay, what's going to happen next?
Right.
They're
Then
feeding into
they
their
feed off of it, and so
We have to
much of
calm
it.
ourselves first.
Exactly. So much of it is ours. Like, hey, you know what?
Yeah.
Something's going to happen. I don't know what it is. I'm going to do my best with it, though.
Right.
Right.
And move on from there. So that one's a
Good
really
advice.
difficult. And then again, the way in which we talk to children and so forth it can also help with that guidance and giving them that redirection
Definitely.
and letting them know what's okay and what's not okay. So number 4, what are some tactics teachers could utilize to encourage children who choose to isolate or remove themselves from the group or activities to participate with the group time during group time? So I'm not too sure exactly if we're talking only specifically about, like, say, group or circle time here. And so if we have children who don't want to participate, so let's take it on that side first. Children who don't want to participate in group or circle time. So, and again, hopefully we're talking about children that are for sure only above 3, because anything under 3, we're talking total choice. Like, if you have a circle or group time, it is a complete choice. If they are under the age of 3, it's
Right.
not a mandated anything. And I know that there are some programs out there that make 2-year-olds sit for 15 minutes.
Or
gosh.
more.
Or more, which is totally inappropriate.
Right.
So we have to look at that, and if we're talking about a group of 3-year-olds, we're only talking about like a 5-minute circle. If we're talking about maybe 4s, we're talking about maybe up to a 10. 5s maybe up to a 15 at the most. And again, it depends on what the needs are of those children on that day. But anybody have anything? So a child who wants to remove themselves or isolate themselves and not participate in group time. So if we're talking about our 3 to 5-year-olds, does anybody have any comments on that?
I guess if they just start the school year, it's like sometimes we have to give them time, because
Right.
sometimes it's all it takes. It's like they want to be alone by themselves. If they're not being disrupted, I think they just need to be by themselves for a little bit while, and then we have to find ways to encourage them to come to you in that group time. Like
Right.
we can find something to give the children. So usually when we have something that interacts them, it's like they wanna come and join them.
Right.
Or sometimes we can ask them to like hold something for us. Like even the
Right.
book is like if they're being part of the group time, then they want to join.
They have a job.
But there are some kids that need some time to become familiar with the group times. So
Right.
it depends on how long the child has been there.
And we also have to remember that we have to know our group too.
Right.
You know, there are some group, there's some year that is that every group time you have to have the dance.
Yeah.
Or you have to
That's
move
good.
around, right?
Right.
And there's some group that are just like, okay, reading is fine with me.
Oh, they
you
could
know?
listen to
So
two or
you
three
can
books
just- yeah.
sometimes. It just
And
depends.
it really depends on the group that you have.
Right.
Exactly.
And then try to find out the balance. And usually I do allow children, if they feel like today I don't want to be in here, okay, fine, book areas over there, but I tend to try to encourage them to stay in the quiet time because the other group, they are redoing group and we need that quiet time.
Right. So if you give them a choice, you're giving them a choice to go over to the library area,
Yes,
the quiet,
right.
the cozy quiet area, whatever it might be in your classroom, and so they're not being disruptive in other parts and then
Exactly.
distracting from the children that are at group. And now I know there's some children over at our Escondido site that like refuse to do group time. Like I mean, they refuse to do any music and movement. Like they will sit there and
Straight face. And
very
everything.
straight face
And
and
very quiet.
and very
It's
quiet.
like,
Right. Exactly.
Just on the side, it's like.
But do the freeze dance, forget it. They're not doing the freeze
I
dance.
have a
Like,
student this year
It really depends on the group.
Right.
And
Yeah.
that's what I like to like sometimes divide the 3 from the 5s because
Right.
the 5s, especially we have them for 2 years, then they do the freeze dance.
Right.
But like the ones that
The
we just
younger
get, the younger ones, they're
Right.
really shy. So
Yes.
sometimes divide them. It's like I do a group time with the bigger kids,
Right.
and they participate, and then for the little ones, then we do something small.
That is a
Right.
technique right there.
Right.
Mentor
Exactly.
teachers,
Yeah.
yes.
Exactly.
Because you
Exactly.
see that, and then
Yes.
you see that this is going to be better because of the different age group or different interests, and she provide that. That's
exactly.
Right.
Exactly.
Definitely.
Because we're providing for the individual
Yes.
needs of the children,
Right.
and and we're not going to meet every single need of every
Right.
single child, but we're looking at the
Try the
bigger groups,
variety.
right? The larger group situation. So, yeah, and then if a child's isolating themselves in a classroom, just not wanting to be part of any part of the group, that would be a little different situation.
then you have to look
Right.
into deeply and see,
Yeah,
okay, what
what's
is
going
really
on.
going on here.
Right.
It's not just on the surface anymore. It
Right.
has to be really going to why, and
Right.
what happened, what's
Right.
the background.
Right.
Talking with the parents.
Yeah,
too.
and then we
Right.
go from there.
Developing
Transition in the
relationships
background.
with them.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, they're all transitioning over. So we got someone to. And so that's our next question: transitions. Perfect. So number 5, when transitioning a small group of 8 children from one location to another. So, like for instance, the examples like outside to inside to use the restroom or so forth. How would you best handle a situation in which a student refuses to cooperate? Not follow safely the rules like staying in line, keeping their hands to their own body, walking feet, and so forth. I had a student who sat down in the hallway and refused to walk, in addition to trying to run the other direction. So being in that situation, I mean, right now, having 8 children to yourself in that kind of situation is probably not going to be the best, you know what I mean, a
Right.
quality type of situation to start off with.
Right.
With supervision and safety being my number one priority, I had a choice. I had no choice but to ensure that the student was safe and had to pick her up and carry her to join the other classmates that I was supervising in the restroom. And sometimes that ends up being the situation, like picking them up and carrying them. I mean, it's usually our last choice, but it sounds like with the safety situation here, that is your
What had
only
to be
choice.
done.
Right.
Right, exactly. If the child's not moving, and because you also have to think about the entire group and the other 7 children
Right.
that are with you, and they can't just, they're not going to wait there forever.
Right.
So with that situation, and I'm trying to think of, let me get down to some of the questions. Particular person. So the adult size class, so there's adult size restroom that they were walking to, with stepping stools to wash their hands. Should the restroom doors remain open in order for the teacher to supervise appropriately? It has to.
It has
Yes.
to.
They have to.
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah, because with community care licensing right now, I mean, you have to be under visual supervision.
Right.
So
All time.
at all times. So yeah,
Right.
so the doors have to remain open.
Right.
And in fact, I would probably, I understand that it's with a church group, church. So if I'm assuming we're talking about stalls and everything, but I would put little hooks on the back side of the doors So when the preschool's in session, then you could hook the back of the door to keep the doors constantly open so the children aren't going in and banging. You know what I mean? I could just
Right.
see that being a a playtime thing. Locking themselves into the bathroom. You know, I mean, locking the door and such. So I would put a little hook thing on it. So at the beginning of the day, hook them all. And then at the end of the day, if the church comes in or whenever the church comes in to use them, then you're unhooking them and then they're able to use as regular doors. So I was just thinking of that one off the top of my head.
Yeah.
But you have to supervise appropriately. So taking the children to the bathroom. And I know Lisa, you have a little different situation
In
with
our
your
twos.
question.
Yes. My room is almost it's connected to another big classroom that has the bathroom and the changing table, the facilities,
Right.
and we have an adjoining door. So when we go, the children, we leave the door open. I have a top door and a bottom door. So I always have that open, and then one of the teachers goes in the bathroom with the child or the children. This year I have like 3 that are potty training already, and they're just
Congratulations.
in there. Yes, they're so happy. We're happy. But there's teachers in that classroom, and sometimes I'll have someone step over and be in my room if I
Right.
need it.
Right.
So, but we have really good ratios.
You do have good
Just
ratios.
no bathroom in my immediate room.
Right.
So do
But
you have
share
to
it.
have children, like, it's time to go, everybody pack up and let's go, like this situation, it's look like, okay, one person had to go, but 8 of them have to go together.
Well, I'm assuming it's more of a ratio situation
Yeah,
where
exactly.
8, so
They all
it sounds
have to
like more
go.
of a state-funded program that has to have 8 going together,
Yeah.
which I know we do over at Escondido.
I was going to say that's that's what we're doing right now.
Yes.
Okay.
Like, you have to-
What is your
So,
trick? What is your techniques?
We always ask them to go to the bathroom when they arrive. So when they arrive, we encourage everybody to go to the bathroom. And then before we go outside, because outside we don't have bathrooms. So we always encourage them to go outside. And then when we are outside, what we're doing right now is we actually have radios so that we can call the staff that is inside.
Good.
Or
Yeah.
we always encourage the 8 children to go with us. And
Or like today was
when
5. I was over there today, and
They have
they
5.
had right. So they had 21 children in the classroom. So every time they had a potty run, it was who else wants to come, who needs
Being
to
a
come, and right exactly. And I know the teachers were gathering up some of the younger ones who might have more accidents and such. To make sure they at least go once, kind of a thing. But yeah,
And while they're waiting, well, we always can sing a song with them. Or we ask them what to do.
Exactly.
So we see them, we have a little bench in the bathroom, and it's like, okay, so what we can sing, what can we do? And we have the letters that are around the restroom, so we always like playing with them, find something to do. So they're just not waiting.
exactly. Because we know that some children are going to take a little bit longer to go than other children.
Right.
And we can't rush that. We can't hurry that along. We have to allow the child to meet their own needs. Again, on the other side, we can get them to move a little bit faster if they're playing, right? You know what I mean? So
right.
if we know that they've already gone and things are already out, then then we can continue to move on. Okay, it looks like you're finished. So
Yeah, and you may have one washing hands
exactly.
and being at the sink and the other one using the toilet and
Exactly, but I think having the bench, I know we have
bench is
benches
good.
over in our toddler sides too.
that's a really
I did too.
Yeah, having just a little bench in the bathroom works out really well because those ones that can be done or are done a little bit faster have a place to sit. Okay, so what are some teaching strategies you recommend reducing aggression in the classroom? And I think we've kind of covered some of those things too. I think some of those big parts are really room arrangement and schedules. So those two things come out first. What else do we have on that?
I wanted to mention, because there's something going on with this particular year, we're having a lot of behavior, and it's not in my 2s. It's the mixed age lunch group. And in fact, we're having a meeting tomorrow with our lunch staff.
Okay, good.
Because there's differing philosophies on how to handle
Right.
Getting on the same page with
getting on the
coworker.
same page.
Sorry.
And that, to me, number one, is that everyone needs to be having a similar strategy.
Right.
We have to join together and support one another. The
Right.
minute people are kind of off individual, like, oh, I think this works, or I think that child gets confused.
Right. Consistency is the key.
It's the key.
Consistency is the
I'm gonna write
key.
it down because
Yes, consistency is the key. And that's for parents, that's for teachers. I mean, that's
Yes.
across the board. So if you're consistent, if it's not okay for Johnny or Susie to do whatever it is at the table, that, you know what I mean, and you've
Yes.
agreed upon that this behavior is not okay, to maybe just to put their food all over the table or whatever it might be. No, your food has to stay in the plate or it goes in the trash. You know what I mean? Like, you make the choice that you've got two good choices as to what it is, but everybody has to be on the same board. So
Yes.
if Lisa sees, Johnny putting his food out on the table, and then Martha sees it too, and Martha doesn't say anything, but Lisa says something, then we don't have that consistency.
no.
So consistency is a key to that aggression, and so many programs and classrooms, I think, also get caught up in the fact that we always have to teach the children something, but remember, we're care first.
Right.
We're always
Yes.
care first, and so we have to make sure that, socialization and problem solving, those are two things that I think are the most important for children to get come out of our programs with. It's not the 1, 2, 3s and the ABCs.
Exactly.
It's those things of getting along. So maybe with this child, we're not, some children are able to read at 4 or 5, okay? That's their thing, but they also might not be able to be the ones that are able to eat at the table and socialize appropriately. So
Yes.
we have to be aware of those things. But reducing the aggression, I think that it was a really good point that you put, but consistency is huge. Martha, did you have something else to add to that? No. Okay. Sorry.
No, I actually had it.
But yeah, and the other thing, like, space has been invaded. It's really important. Which I here's the thing. So being at the lab school for over 22 years, being a part of the lab school at least for over 22 years, it's what I've seen, the growth and development in all of our teachers has been in that respecting the rights of the child who built that structure.
Exactly.
And I think we've grown as a program in that sense of respecting, like the teachers will protect that child's work, will protect what it is that child's working on, and I've seen that growth in us over the years, which has been amazing. So I think respecting, having a respectful
Respect the children is really important, and also we have to make sure that when we respect them, we teach them, or not teach, it's not teach, we really give them the message that they can trust us.
Right,
And then
exactly.
when they have that trust and security, then they're gonna open up whatever.
Exactly.
So first thing come, you got to give them that. And in the classroom, trust and security.
Right.
And when they see that, oh, if I leave this here, she's gonna protect that for me.
Right.
They're gonna give us that trust.
Right.
And then later on it's gonna be easier. And also with the children come according to this scenario, they are really coming to different family background or whatever. And a little technique can help them out too by taking a deep breath, or they start screaming and everything. Give them space, because sometimes some children, they need to get this out.
Right.
Make sure, you just have to make sure that the other people out, they're not gonna get hurt.
Right.
Yes.
Give that person, get it out. Then the system, because when they have that problem, you go and talk to them, doesn't work.
That's not the
Right.
right time to talk to them.
That's not the time.
Right.
Leave that person, let them get out their system, and then come back and say, are you ready?
Right.
And then you come back in a calm voice, are you ready to talk?
Exactly.
No, I don't want. Okay, fine. Then you need to move to that way. I want to make sure that everybody's here is going to be safe. Go for it.
Right.
Give that opportunity will
And-
help them a lot.
Exactly. And I know we've done some pushing on the wall.
Yes,
We've had
don't.
The hands.
Yeah, we've had some hands up on the wall where the children, if they've got that aggression and they've really got that, oh, I'm so angry, I'm so mad, that we've had teachers put up little hands on the walls and say,
Like the hand name tags.
yeah, the hands,
Okay.
and just push on the wall.
Yeah.
And
So
so,
in an area of the room, and they can go right,
right,
over
and they
there.
can go over there and push on the wall.
Strategy.
Sometimes you find them, and even if the children that really don't need that part for
Right.
the aggression or anything, but they're like, I'm just gonna push it because it feels good. You know,
Yeah.
it's like, that's good. At least they know it's there. But
Right.
you know,
so-
or you hear them even telling each other, I think they're angry. I think they need to go push on the hands. You know,
Right.
you get the little teachers in the classroom
Because
that help you out.
that's
but
not
it's
only
true.
that just the techniques. That
No.
is a real of physical.
Exactly.
Doctors say that
Right.
too. Because when you tense your muscle,
Exactly.
after the tensing the muscle, you're gonna relax,
Mm-hmm.
and then everything's gonna come down.
Yes.
And so usually what we over here, and again, address their feeling,
Feelings
acknowledge
is a big
them.
thing.
Right.
Don't just like, oh, you don't need to be angry.
Right.
Yes, you do angry. I
Yeah.
will get angry if somebody take my stuff.
Right.
Think about yourself. Think back.
Right.
Don't just say
Validate
like,
their
oh, this
feelings.
is just
Yes.
a small little thing. It's gonna be okay. No, it will not be okay for the children at that age.
Exactly.
Because
Right.
that's how they think. This is it. This is gonna
Exactly.
be the end of the world for them.
Right.
Acknowledge them, how
Yes.
they feel about it, and let them go their course. And then when they calm down, let's talk.
Right.
You're
And
gonna
they don't
get
have
a
those
lot.
concepts of time.
No.
You know what I
No.
mean? Concepts of time are not there. So,
Right.
you know, saying it will be back here tomorrow and everything, sometimes it just goes right
Yeah.
over their heads. So, all right, last one here. How can you best set up a classroom schedule that supports transitions, being gradual or individualized when teachers are forced to adhere to ratios at all times? And follow permit regulations. So I think it's really planning out the schedule with the entire site.
Right.
So you know if for instance, if you have to share outside times
Right.
or something like that. And I know you guys share outside
do.
times, and your yard's a little bit on the smaller side,
Smaller
so
side.
so it makes it a little bit more difficult. So having one classroom out, first, and one classroom out second, having to do that is something that you want to plan at the whole center, like the whole
We do.
site.
Yeah, we do it at the beginning of the year at our orientation time.
Right.
And I say orientation, but the beginning staff meeting.
Right.
And we go through our schedule and we decide who's
Right.
going to be out at what time.
Right.
Yeah.
And then we
Because
have
you
it.
guys are closed during the summer, so.
Right,
Yeah.
but like this happened, I needed to switch a schedule
Uh-huh.
because the afternoon class I have, the schedule we had for playground
Right.
time
Isn't working.
was not working.
See?
It was just wrong. So
Yeah.
I had to renegotiate
Being able to
Exactly.
evaluate the group.
and I didn't know until we got to know everybody and
Right.
realized, hey, we've got to go out
First. Exactly.
and it's now our behaviors have settled.
Exactly.
Yeah, or sometimes smaller groups, split groups. If you have the capability
Right.
of doing it, that is always helpful. Let
Right.
some go out, some stay in.
So if you have
That
eight,
seems to
if you have eight, then you could have 8 inside, 8 outside,
Right.
and then 2 different classrooms could be outside at the same time. If they have the other 8 in the inside with the
Right.
other teacher, and then have 8 outside. I know we do it at a lot of
We do that,
Escondido,
too.
and I know Sisuda's been doing it some over here too. So, so there's a lot of different things, and I think it is fair to request a site supervisor to support daily needs if that's if that's something that's really
Right.
if there's something significant, because again you have to make sure that all the personal rights of all the children in your program are protected. Now
Yes.
you're going to know some children are going to hit and bite and do those things, but we're talking about I think here is probably talking about consistently, like children who are consistently aggressive, that you have to do your best to protect the rights for all children. So we
Right.
know things are going to happen, okay? Children are going to get hurt by other children, but how significant is it, and how is it getting better, or is it getting worse?
Right.
Those kinds of things. And with that, parents have to be on board.
Right. And what if they're not on board?
And if
This
they're
is-
not on board, that's where it comes to your center
going-
policies.
Yes, and this is where we're kind of at with the situation right
Uh-huh.
now. And a meeting's coming up tomorrow
Okay, good.
to find out what are we going to do. And
Right.
number one, consistency with the staff.
Exactly.
And then now we're going to meet with the classroom teacher, and
Good.
she just conferenced, and we're trying to get the parent on board, but
Right.
there's a little bit of denial and some issues.
Right,
So-
because parents think their children are perfect.
Right. Well, whatever the reason. Yeah, it may be that, or just maybe fear
I feel
that
like
I
my
don't want to
students
go
are
there.
perfect.
I don't
Right,
wanna, yeah,
exactly.
I don't know.
Exactly. So, all right. Well, thank you guys so much. We're at the end of our questions, and I think we covered everything that we needed to cover. So I really appreciate it, and thank you so much.